Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Sangha Live Meditation Hall, the magic meditation hall, as maybe someone said. And yeah, it's really lovely to get this sense of those who are coming in from different places, different countries, and that our sense of community is really, really wide, really spread out, really diverse. Someone said so cosmopolitan, and some of us might be in neighboring rooms to someone else, and others, really, really far away, really in different climates, maybe cultures and conditions. And it's delightful that we come together here in this space. And in a sense, that's also going to be a little bit about what I want us to consider today as we continue to explore all we all need. And that can be an alive question for us. What is it actually that we need? What is it that we all need? And in what way, by us cultivating what we most deeply need, are we actually contributing to what this world we live in, more than human beings, what we all need for a good life? So here we are in Sangha Live. Many of you know this form really well. Now I'll give a short meditation. I will give a short meditation reflection, but it's more a kind of a Dharma reflection, a contemplation of these wonderful teachings that we have inherited from quite ancient wisdom, and talk a bit about how we can apply those to our lives in really helpful ways. And then bringing from there into relatively quiet, lightly guided 30-minute meditation, and from there back into Sangha space, where we can converse, ask questions, responses, share reflections. Everything's welcome. And I'll say a bit more about that when we get there. But simple thing for now to remember, if you have a question, write in capitals question, and then that will make it really easy to find that and respond to that. So arriving, taking this breath, taking this moment to soften, to settle, to sustain presence. Part of what I put in the description, and a part of what we've been exploring here, is how do we create or discover freedom, well-being, those kinds of inclining the mind towards the qualities we want to see. And we lightly touched upon this over the days, but just to kind of bring a bit more attention to when we become familiar with our experience. We use this word gom from the Tibetan. It's a very lovely word for me. It sounds a lot like om, which is from the really kind of deep understanding from the Hindu and before kind of tradition of spiritual awakening, that there are resonances that introduce and invite us into certain spaces. And the sense that that's there in the heart of Gom, becoming familiar. Maybe we're also becoming familiar with being a resonance, being a vibration. But what we actually get to see is those ways perhaps that we're actually not vibing fully, not resonating so well. In the first 2 days of the week, we looked at those qualities of maybe we need to brighten up, maybe we need to cool down. And so when we find ourselves not quite vibing well, not resonating well, not harmonically, revealing ourselves in ways which feel good, we notice we have a hindrance from freedom, a hindrance from well-being, that almost as if that wants to come up, spring up, flow through us in our life, and something's blocking that. Two of the ways that gets blocked is there's too much agitation. Yeah. leading to restlessness, to worry, to all of that energy. And there, we really need to cool down. And those softening, opening, soothing practices we can do, really supportive for that. Other times, it's actually what we notice is it's become a bit stagnant. It's starting to get, you know, deflated, even depressed, kind of, well, why bother? There's nothing to do, or they just can't get it going today. And those times, that opening, brightening, enlivening, we stretched out the breath, called out the count to the hedgerows and that kind of thing, just to kind of play around a bit, start to turn that cycle. All kinds of things can be helpful there. Not going to spend too much time naming all of the possible antidotes. I'll actually chuck a link in at a certain point where I've actually kind of written more about this, shared this before at Sangha Life. I actually wrote it for a Sangha Life session for the Sangha Life community. Another way that we feel restricted, hindered, is actually what we had yesterday in the recognition of the dukkha inclined thinking. Yeah. What's often referred to as greed or even sensuality, which is to say, trying to seek a satisfaction through accumulation of things in the world. Or if I get that, I'll be okay. Or if I have that place in the world, I'll be okay. So actually, that's not going to be sustainable. It's going to take a lot of work to try and get happiness out of that, because it's going to be very inconstant, transitional, forming, changing, dynamic. And the other way is that if I get rid of this one, if I get rid of that thing, if I didn't have this, then I could be okay. And those kind of stories that we tell ourselves in the Buddhist kind of understanding are actually taking us away from the well-being and freedom. Yeah, it's the entanglement into that agitation thought stream. And when we find ourselves doing that kind of thinking and we can recognize, whoa, this thinking is occurring. Gom. Oh, wow, yeah, going there. Don't need to. Let go of that. And so what we actually have here are, 4 out of the 5 common hindrances that happen. And as a way of remembering them, I call them drags. D-R-A-G-S. And D stands for doubt. And that's the 5th of the hindrances. Yeah. The doubt that is eventually dissolved by the confidence we gain by practicing freedom, by playing our part, by opening, softening, soothing, brightening, whatever is needed there, right? So the rest of the drags, doubt for D, R is for restlessness, A is for aversion, pushing away, yeah. G is for greed, and S is for sloth. Okay, like the slothfulness, sluggishness, maybe is a easier word to remember. And I call them drags because I want to be able to remember them, and I want to be able to just check in this moment, what's happening. Is there one? Of course there is. Of course there is. They are universal. They are universal. They're not personal. If you're not fully awake, if you are a human being, they will be playing a part. Right now, they're playing a part. In some way, we're restless. Just get through it, man. Come on. I've got a busy day today, So, I really can't get myself energized. Going to be somewhere on that spectrum that could be adjusted more to the middle way of vibrant, alive, delightful, tranquil peacefulness. So it's a vibrant tranquility, if you don't mind the kind of flowery language of it. But it's for me, we're aiming for a vibrant tranquility. Oh yeah. We're not trying to push and pull onto existence. Oh yeah. Can I allow, accept, tolerate, open, not support what doesn't serve? Yeah. Now I feel like I've clarified, I'm there and it's good. Is there doubt? Much less, because I see this is what I can do. So it's important to see these are not personal things. They just happen, but we do have to meet them. Accept it's here. Know it can't last. Understand that it depends. And then do something. What does it need? What can I change? A few ideas in general, like what in the posture? That softening, opening. If we notice I'm heading forwards, signs of restlessness, leaning back. If I'm kind of don't want to get engaged, just inclining in, shaping through the posture, aligning with nobility. Or in the breathing, that sense of deepening, widening, maybe brightening, that calling out in the count to the hedgerows of brightening and bringing alive, or just seeing the breath as illuminating. All those kind of ways, they play a part, contribute. As we all contribute to Sangha Life by our presence, we always are contributing something. And we can be contributing bad vibes to our thinking, so to say. Yeah, we can be contributing, harmonizing, upgrading our normal way of thinking to generosity, to gratitude, to kindness. Or just really directly in how I'm bringing my attention is, am I saying, may you be included, may be allowed, cared for, welcomed, released. And not to underestimate that these are just kind of gradual changes, but they change everything. For the nature of dependency is changing one node, one element, one aspect, actually starts to rearrange the whole network. Part of the wholesome magic of meditation that we're evolving or dissolving or creating, or in some sense just discovering qualities that weren't already there. And for me, it's a beautiful, beautiful way of viewing practice. It starts with Gom. What's here? What have I inherited into my experience? How is this showing up? And how can I change how I act, which will change how I feel, which will change, transform how I'm becoming? Again, that changes everything because self is activity. How I feel myself to be, in a sense, it's nothing else. There's no essence to it. It's an activity that I feel myself to be that changes how things are, right? We said we'd come back to this kind of, it's universal. It also relates to wholesome. Yeah, it's not a rejection mode. This shouldn't be happening to me. I accept, yeah, this is what's happening. I accept I'm human, I'm not fully awake, they're going to happen. If I don't notice that hindrances are happening, I'm probably just not paying attention on that frequency. Or they're expressing in a way that's too subtle for the refinement of my attention there. There's going to be some push and pull in the thinking, in the emotion. There's going to be some push and pull in the energetics, and finding what I can do there. Some not showing upness, maybe. Yeah. But also, you see, we're playing with that sense of self. And another element to this that can be kind of really supportive and builds from there, but also feeds back in, is a sense of interconnection. Yeah. We actually see that the self is an activity space, and the way that we act, we're impacted and we're impacting. Yeah, we inter-are with all things. We have an interbeing, as Thich Nhat Hanh would say. Yeah. And the apparent self-other boundary that kind of builds itself up is also a hindrance. And just seeing that wherever that might feel to be, it's optional for us to expand it. Notice what it's like in saying, oh, my breath, I'm breathing my breath. What about this in-breath that we're breathing in now? That might have come from a rainforest thousands of miles away. Some of those molecules of oxygen that are oxygenating this blood stream, taking care of this body. Imagine if you were like a connoisseur of the breath and you could say, oh, there's a bit of Amazon there, and I think Arctic tundra. Yeah. And just feeling, sensing the earth and the sun have presented this. The energetics of photosynthesis have created an atmosphere that can support life. And we're here breathing it in. And as we breathe out, what we no longer need in terms of carbon and other elements are going back out and being absorbed in by our plant brothers and sisters. Just as our system might be digesting right now, or it's empty and ready for digesting food that will then become this body. And the bound that we feel ourselves to be can be dissolved by the way that we look, by the way that we relate. So that whole way of practice, creating, discovering, supporting, and allowing ourselves to feel empathy for all kinds of beings, just like me. Yeah, they're just like me. They want to be respected, they want to be allowed to live their life. They're exploring, finding how it is to be alive. These birds I can hear, these insects I can see and not see, the nearby and distant animals, including humans, and you know, humans were also nature. Yeah. May that be so. We're all earthlings, yeah, beings of the earth. So, dear earthling, what's going on? How you doing? How you seeing the world? How you shaping your experience? And I invite you into the artist's studio or experimenter's laboratory, whatever it is for you. And we'll take some time for some practice. So we'll take half an hour and I'll drop in a few little reminders through that. Just beginning finding your place in the studio, in the laboratory. And this body, and all of this sensitivity here for creating, discovering, developing, or dissolving. What's going on here? Starting to check with the energy. Is there a restlessness? Are you looking forward to the end? Are you wanting something more? Or is this possible to see as enough? Something to rest into. Leaning back just a micro millimeter or more starts to help us find that alignment. Or are you still sleepy? Haven't done your yoga yet? Haven't had a stretch? You can start with a stretch if it's helpful. Feel that brightening in breath, deepening. If there's sluggishness in the heart, the mind, or the body and breath, just having a deep in-breath, holding it in. Can you tell where this one came from? Mm. Tasting, exploring the magic of a breath, how it gives life. Just keeping an eye out when the mind wanders and we catch it. What's the energy there? Is it a little bit too much towards the restlessness, the worry, the agitation? the fixing? Was it a little bit too much of the sluggish, the dull, the oh, it's boring, not wanting to be here? It's not personal, but it's ours to meet, ours to shape. In the meantime, having some time of breathing, of listening to our life in quietude. For noticing if you're leaning ahead or holding back in any way. Seeing if we can incline in the other direction just by adjusting the uprightness of the body. Or if we're reclining, seeing if we can shift that in another way, adjusting that dial of the intensity of our intention to attend. The intensity of the intention to attend. Might call really showing up when there's dullness, or just softening back. A creator, a discoverer isn't judging, but inquiring or checking, what does this moment need a bit more of? And can we incline that way? Taking time for gratitude, how that can resolve a lot of the greedy mindset. Allowing the kindness can soften many layers of rejection. Gratitude included for this breath, wherever it's come from, near and far, and to feel it in this body, another gift. Have a body that can feel the world. Resting in that knowing with the breath, with the sounds of this present moment. recognizing, acknowledging where attention is and where it's leading. Seeing that we can let go of what doesn't serve us and we can cultivate what does. It's amazing that this quality can at times not seem amazing, that we can shape our inner life, contribute to the outer world by inclining, by supporting the kinds of qualities that are good for us and good for others. In the old suttas, many, many times, we see how amazing, how marvelous. Maybe we can too. Where once there was greed channeling its way through this heart and mind, there is now gratitude, ideas of generosity. Where once a furrow of ill will, aversion, kindness, tolerance, patience blossoms. Where there was agitation, reactivity, tension, the dissolving into peace, openness, softness, flexibility. Where there was dullness, sluggish, deflated, there grew a brightening, gleaming aliveness. Where once a tendency for confusion and doubt, there grew a clarity and a confidence. How amazing, how marvelous. What a blessing. Breathing in the nearest breeze, this breeze that comes in deep into the lungs, deep into the being, and flows back out. The wind, the air out there, and the wind and the air in here. Wetness of the eyes, the mouth, belly, and the wetness in the world out there. The streams and rivers of our nervous system and blood. The heavy earthiness of our bones and muscles. Hills and mounds of an outer landscape. Rocks covered with earth. Inner and outer. Some kind of fiery energy, some inner sun, maybe in the belly radiating out, in the mind, brain, explosions of thoughts and ideas presenting into immaterial consciousness. All of this. Who would make a boundary between body and nature? It's all nature. Noticing how it is, earthling, right now, to be you in this particular way. We will transition from the stillness, from the inner gaze, into the Sangha community of all beings, of all things. You can carry on if you're enjoying. And when you transition, bringing it with you, what's helpful, what's supportive, what's joyful, what's fun. So we got a little wild and weird at the end. And just want to kind of clarify, we're just adopting views that may or may not be useful for freedom. And there can be a sense this is the way things really are. Now I feel it and it's great. And so really, it's looking this way brings enormous amounts of freedom and well-being to this being. I think that's all we can say. And hopefully it's helpful. Hopefully it's useful. Hopefully it's liberating. Yeah, that's the idea. I can say for myself, I came with a real interest in maybe meditation can help me to find out what's really true. And more, my way of practicing has been shaped by a sense of, well, what's the most useful, most beneficial, most wholesome. And with that, interestingly, also comes the most beautiful ways of being. And we can really be guided by all of those qualities: wholesome, skillful, beautiful, delightful, subtle. They're all kind of synonyms, or they all point towards the same thing. So, yeah, hopefully that's a supportive way for you to see this practice, playing around with ideas that start to open things, taking that framework like the hindrances, and we just start to develop it and go into it more and more, and find the ways that can really support us to let go of what's not helpful, go further with what can be, what is. And as I said, I'd share a link, and it's on my Medium. That's a blogging platform. I posted it. It's called "Intending to Meditate and Meditating with Intent," and yeah, it relates to what we've explored today. It also relates very well with what we've explored earlier in the week. And it can be another way of actually bringing this practice to life. Particularly how I see it as being helpful is if we carve out little periods of time where we dedicate ourselves to notice which of the drags is most dominant. And we might say, I've got a bit of doubt and I've got a bit of aversion, and yeah, I'm feeling a bit sluggish. I've got a DAS. I could even jot it down in my journal. Then the next question is, and then what did I do? What posture did I adopt? How did I meet my breathing, or listening, or practiced kindness, or whatever? What did I do? And then we reflect, and then what happened? And that's a way of really like building up your magic skills. So, oh, I noticed that, I did this, and that's what happened. We're really starting to learn, investigate our experience, all based around GOM, all based around getting familiar. That can be a really beautiful thing to try out, right? When there's not a lot of energy and I decide to stand up, not to lie down. Really kind of counter-intuitive or even counter-evolutionary kind of step. So, wow, I actually unleashed energy I didn't realize I had. It's just amazing what you can do. Yeah. And then that point that I dropped into the meditation, which I think is really, really important. I'm not sure it's in that article, but it's the fact that we're kind of like, yeah, they told me to do this and I did that and then this happened and it was fine. It's like, no, it was amazing. It was incredible that that was possible, that that's available for us, that we can open this rich potential. And with interconnection, with that's amazing, these are just lenses we can adopt. Are we interconnected? Well, yeah, I mean, surely. Is it good for us to think that way? Yeah, it feels really helpful. Is it amazing? Well, yeah, surely. Is it helpful to think that way? Yeah, it really does feel like it's helpful. So therefore, we can do it. We will do it. Okay, so are there any questions or reflections or things you'd like to bring in? Really feel invited to put them into the chat. While we have this moment, I also just want to share, um, the principles of interconnection and interdependency occur here as well. And there's so much work and effort that goes into creating this platform and making it available for us. And, all those who come and teach here do it freely. It's all just given for you. May it be useful. Take what's good, keep it going. Um, it's offered freely, which means it's free of expectations. But whatever you can give is of great support and allows us to continue doing this. Obviously, just giving freely and that only going in one direction would be unsustainable over the long term, or people would have to, be finding other means. And I have the deep privilege and honor to be actually teaching solely on dana. I never receive a payment for things, and I actually turn down projects that can't operate on a dana basis. Just exploring that as an ethic, as a principle, as a anarchistic, anti-capitalist, but also because it feels right. It feels important that these teachings are maximally available. Yeah, don't want money to get in the way of liberating teachings. And I'm sure that's something many of us share, resonate with, that, we want these blessings to be available for everyone. Yeah. And thanks to organizations like Sangha Life, they are. But then that also means that we need to be invited every once in a while to contribute to that, to express our participation also on the financial level, those of us who can. Yeah. So if you can't, this is especially available for you for free. And it's meant to be that way. Yeah. And I know that that's not easy to accept and go with, but really, thank you for being here. And thank you for accepting this in this way. And those of us who can give more will, knowing that they're supporting and paying forward and extending and expanding the freedom teachings that are supported by an organization like Sangha Life. And that'll help us keep the accountants and platform whatever's paid and all the workers who are supported by salaries through Sangha Life supported as well. So yeah, blessings for all of that. Hey, so far no questions, which is lovely to see. Um, and as we go through, through our lives, just like checking what's needed. Yeah. So we have this drags. You can work out for yourself maybe and remember what that is. I'll say it again. You can listen back to the playback, find it earlier, but put it at the end as well. Doubt, restlessness, aversion, greed, sluggishness. Yeah. When we find ourselves in a moment, they are going to be playing their part in some way. One or more will always be there. Are we doubting our capacity to be able to change? Are we a bit too energetic, coming on a bit strong? Do we need to calm back a bit? Are we being aversive? Is there ill will coming through our system, some rejection? Are we being greedy, thinking that if I get this, then that'll be enough, and going down that whole thought stream? Or is there sluggishness, reluctance to show up? Yeah. So, any moment we can notice what's here, and we can also inquire what's needed. And we can also take that place as I'm willing to create, discover, or dissolve. Yeah. We can change the world through what's possible. Yeah. So I just saw a question appear, but I don't know if we have any time left for it. Basically, do you think it's possible to act into these good qualities? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We are activities. What we do is how we are. Yeah. And we can do it. Just to remember, we only need to turn the dial a very small degree. And if we said in this moment of absolute restlessness, is there nothing I can do? Well, no, there's not nothing I can do, but I can't do everything. No one's asking you to do everything. Can you soften just a little bit with this? Just make it slightly more tolerable for yourself and equally then, for those around you. And we can talk about that some more if it comes to a more kind of question. If there's some doubt that feels it needs addressing, happy to move into that more tomorrow, as we will have our final exploration of all we all need. All we all need, practicing for all earthlings and beyond. So blessings to you. Thank you for being here. Wish you well.